but I'd just never seen it. I see it in boxes, handkerchief boxes, glove boxes, things like that. So it's just kind of cool. You know, I've got this little 4-legged plant stand, and, you know, for a touch of reality, a brick phone, the original car phone.
Well, if you got a dollar, well, just lousy down. You know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget fine.
Hey, it's Trusty, and I'm on the road. Until about a month ago, I had never heard of Walnut, Iowa. Now, people are claiming it is the antiques capital of America. I think Adamstown, Pennsylvania might question that, but Adamstown I hadn't heard of much before a year ago. So who knows? I don't know anything. But I had the time to actually swing through Walnut on a Sunday. It appears most of the stores are going to be open, but I found one that opens a little earlier than the others. So I'm starting the day at Granary Antiques, and we are going to see what we find in Walnut, Iowa. Once again, finish a triptych and walk into the next antique mall and see a whole collection that follows what Katie was talking about. So we've got, let's see, a Standard Oil Company. That actually looks a little bigger. That looks more like, that's more than a 2-gallon. I think these are the 2 gallons that she collects. Kind of cool, the Arrow Eastern. Quaker, not a Quaker Oats, got a little Quaker woman on that one. Oh, that's antifreeze. Hydraulic jack oil, Imperial. So, not sure if these fall into the collection that Katie herself collects, but some fun graphics, and see them in Walnut. So something I don't see every day. As most people know, I do collect decorated stoneware. This is a little bit later. This is getting into 20th century, but a pretty impressive collection of Western Monmouth pottery, as well as Red Wing. So you've got the little, you know, Red Wing logo and the stamp, you know, on here. These all seem to be in pretty good condition, and price-wise, I don't really collect these all that much. So, you know, that one's only $45 for a 5-gallon. That's actually a pretty good price. Plain ones in the $20 range, $26, you know, $29. Older piece here at the top. Not great condition. Unfortunately, you can see the huge cracks on the side. That's a water bottle. There'd be a spigot that would come out of here that you would dispense either water or syrup or something along those lines. Maybe it would have been for beer. I don't know. I don't really collect those, but that's what that hole is in the bottom. And, you know, we do have some older. We got a New York piece. 120 actually says right on there as is, so there's something wrong with that one. But this one's nice because it is stamped, and it does have the cobalt in the stamping, so it makes it a little bit easier to see. A lot of people show me things like this. These are much more contemporary because this one has actually been done in the style of somebody's home. So, you know, popular if you own that home and you happen to have the Lind family name. Other than that, not 100% sure it'd be worth $40, but, you know, pretty piece if that's what you're trying to collect. Holy cats, check this out. Let's see, we've got measurements on here. What, been for maybe bolts or screws? But check it out, this shape of this drawer. All around, some of them have little placards on them, some are stamped. Oh, it looks like they're actually pressed in too. There's a little design that's been pressed into that. Just a great shape for the piece. It is, I saw the price on here somewhere. It is almost $3,000. Yeah, certainly not something I'm going to be picking up, but I don't know. If you've got the right place for something like that, you couldn't get a more interesting piece of conversation piece in your home, even for $3,000. Gorgeous, very cool piece. Admittedly, I was intrigued by this box. So a Quaker lace cloth, and I see he's got a big white thing around his neck. So I'm like, wait, are we selling, you know, collars? But no, we have a Quaker lace cloth, color Egyptian, 54 by 72. So we have a tablecloth. So we've got this beautiful lace tablecloth. We're going to assume machine made. Quaker lace cloth, $125. But it's kind of a neat, I'm not even going to bother opening it up because I'm not buying it. And the design, I think, is less important than what's here in the bottom. So in the box, in its original box, you still have the original hang tag, Made in America, Quaker Gala dinner cloth. Never heard it called that. So, okay, we've got a dinner cloth. Some information on the back. And then interesting facts about Quaker lace cloths. So we've got the guaranteed by good housekeeping. There's some information about the company. Lace for dining, candlelight and roses, and a dinner cloth, all the lovely things. A little talk about lace making. And because I'm always obsessed with age, go to the back, and there you go. You've got a single-digit zip code, which, for people who are probably sick of me saying it, is one of the greatest ways to try and date something. At least the piece of paper is dated between 1948 and 1963, because that's when single and two-digit zip codes existed. It's a possible this was added, later. Maybe the cloth is a little bit older, but based on the graphics on the box and that label that was on the side, it probably is a 50s piece. But just kind of cool that they would have been sold in this massive box with pretty cool graphic, and whether somebody received it as a gift, they were either receiving a very flat Quaker, or they knew they were getting a quality tablecloth, or dining cloth, as you choose. Now, this is something I've never seen before. So I've seen pyrography, where they burn a design into the wood. I've never seen one quite this elaborate, in the sense, look at how much was burned out. I mean, you've actually got some depth here to get this design. And I've never seen it done on such a large scale that it turns into a tabletop. So you've just got a really attractive lion fire burned into the top of this. Now, it's interesting because they did all of this depth here, and you can see where they burned into the wood, but they didn't do it on the outside. So whether they ran out of time or they're afraid it wouldn't actually work once it got to the edge, they only did the open carving in the middle. As a result, I'm not sure aesthetically I like it that much. They did it here and they did it here. So they just never did it where the edges would be. And maybe that's not a bad idea. Maybe it would have caused the edge of the table to be too thin or fall apart. I don't know. But I just never seen it. I see it in boxes, handkerchief boxes, glove boxes, things like that. So it's just kind of cool. I've got this little four-legged plant stand. And, for a touch of reality, a brick phone, the original car phone. Admittedly, I'm somewhat fascinated by this. I do like music cabinets in general, and this one is different than any that I've ever seen before. We'll start with the basics. For those who don't know or are not familiar with a music cabinet, it usually is a smallish cabinet like this, typically with a door, that when you open it, you have shelves to hold your music. Now, right off the bat, this one is different than what I've ever seen, because when you open it, see if I can get it on sizing, see it, look, the shelves actually expand. So they actually come out, which I don't think is particularly necessary, but it's very cool. And as a result, it got a patent in 1904, and I'm going to assume it was a patent for this movable, document holder. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Somewhat rough shape, a couple of the, they're very thin, like almost balsa wood. So that one shelf is missing a piece. But the fact that it's still functional in its movement is, fairly impressive. Now, let's go to the other piece that's making me question this. It's like a vitrine. So it has a door. It doesn't appear to have a lock on it, with a glass cover. Some really nice, cool gold rope trim to kind of clean off the setting. And then you've got a velveteen or baize lining that just is kind of sitting there. So what it makes me think is that typically when I think of music cabinets, I think they're for piano music. I'm wondering if this was for a trumpet or a clarinet or a flute or something that would have actually, an accordion, something that would have fit into this space. It's fairly tall. I'd say probably 9 inches, 8-9 inches tall, and fairly deep, so I think it could hold something fairly large. I just don't know what it would be, and there's no furnidents or anything to show like something that spent a lot of time sitting there. But that would be a pretty cool piece, that if you had an instrument that could sit in that case and then you would have the music below it. Fascinating. Certainly nothing I'm picking up for $1,200, but just love coming across things like this because I've literally never seen one like it before. I am pretty much fascinated by this piece. It's $2,300 and it's already, it's on hold, so I'm not worried about actually picking it up. But it's a traditional vanity table, nothing special, some nice cabriole legs on it, little side drawers, very nice. I'm going to assume that the chair that's with it is originally part of it, although it does appear to be a little bit more detailed, but that's okay. We're not going to focus on that because what I want to focus on is what's attached to the back of the chair. It is a mirror, and you can see it's a swivel chair. It is bolted onto the back. The mirror itself can be raised and lowered, and I'm assuming, whether it goes with this table or not, the concept behind this would have been a lady's chair to be able to check the back of her hair in the mirror. So how cool is that? I've never seen that before, nor have I ever seen a chair that would have had that little bracket on the back. I mean, it's entirely possible the mirror would disappear over time, but that's kind of cool. So I guess kind of be on the lookout for that, because at least as a set, this is selling for $2,300. But that chair, I'm not sure you'd want it in your home all by itself, but I love the concept behind it. For those familiar with my channel, particularly the deep dives that I used to do and then the duo dives I now do with Katie. Katie first appeared on my channel in a deep dive on on typewriter ribbon tins. And this is probably one of the biggest collections of typewriter ribbon tins I've seen for sale in one place. Now, some of these I recognize, some that I've seen Katie has shown in her own collection, others I even recognize, some that I have purchased for Katie. And one of the ones I wanted to show is these two right here. Unfortunately, I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but these I do know because they are the square and they're slightly taller. These are the older tins before they became standardized with the lower and puck style boxes. But one of these has a dark background and one has a white background. And so one of those is older than the other. Guess what? I can't remember which is which. But what I find interesting is they are priced the same price. So the person selling these is not aware that there is a difference between those two, because the older one is then, of course, a little bit harder to find. So I might do a little bit of digging. Not 100% sure they're worth the money to resell, and Katie already has them in her collection. But it's always fun to show items that we cover in duo dives, deep dives, and our Tales from the Triptych. When you see them in the real world, because, we are doing those to try and educate people when they come across them. And even I sometimes need that extra education, and I'm going to have to look at my notes. So I mentioned that I'd never seen so many typewriter ribbon tins all together. Well, right next to it are cases of vintage spices. And let's just be honest, I didn't know there was so much variety in the graphics on spice tins. Some get into different shapes, some more like the canisters or some of the taller ones, but a lot of these are kind of look like the spice tins that have been standardized today. But I would say probably a lot of these brands no longer exist. So there's 4 cases of just food spice tins, pretty much covering just about any either spice or image or theme you could want. Speaking of items that I didn't realize had so much variety, check out this entire display case just with egg beaters. Crazy. These are all the handheld egg beaters. So you can see the cranks are on them. And, well, hell, that would just like take out that egg. Some of them a little bit more simpler. What the heck? Well, no, okay, so that one seems to go on its side. So it's got a traditional beater. It just isn't as long. $450 for that one. $895. $699. Now, I'm not challenging any of these prices. I know nothing about these. This, some more simplistic one is $29. But I want again, I had no idea this kind of variety existed. Well, that one you have to clamp to your table. That seems a little bit industrial. Another $29 one in the back. $99. $178. That's actually kind of pretty. Just the way they did the blades. $945. Wow. That's got like a plunger mechanism on the top. So instead of turning it, I guess you crush your hand. I guess it give you a workout for your hand. Egg beater with original funnel. Okay, that's $125. Check out this huge one with all the flared beaters. That's only $59. That seems like a fairly impressive piece for only $59, just as a piece of kitchenalia. So again, keep your eyes peeled and you just find some fun stuff. Now, not a collection I'm going to be starting, but if I wanted to build an industrial kitchen collection, this would definitely be the place to do it. And for our next installment of things that I didn't know could be collected, these are targets from shooting ranges, from carnival shooting ranges. Look how huckster could this be? Hucksters with guns. So we've got all of these tipped down. I'm not sure what those would do because those don't appear to tip. They just appear to be, banged. So it says knockdown, like that one says a knockdown bird target. So they must just work in different ways. So some of them are pin, attached. Somehow they all, attach, they sit up and then you shoot them with a gun and they knock over. And these are some fairly sturdy pieces. So, probably back in the day, they were maybe shooting actual metal balls, so there's some pretty heavy duty stuff knocking them down, but some of them still have their original paint. Look at how those were designed. And those are a little bit more expensive. Those are $250 because those are, far more elaborate. But some of the simpler ones, like the bull target, that's only $88. The squirrel's only $88. This little tippy one with the bird and then the red, that's $195. So it's a little bit more, but there's more to it. And it looks like that one still has its original anchor, so it's $295. So without their anchors, it looks like they're a little harder to display. But how cool and how fun are those? And I didn't even see on top of the case, this is one of the rotating ones. So this one would spin, so you'd have the moving targets. Some of the other ones might have moved too, but check that out. How fun is that? Falling under the category of one of the coolest things I've ever seen, this is a TWA Sky Kennel pet carrier. Check this out. It's heavy-duty cardboard, but let's just say my basset hound would not have fit in this. So I don't know if this would have been something you carried I'm assuming you would have carried your pet on board as opposed to checking him as luggage. I could be wrong. In pretty good condition, considering it's just cardboard. Notice to passengers. Ooh, it's got regulations. Notice to passengers. Regulations require that pet remains in container and top must be kept closed at all times during flight. Okay, yeah, so this is one that you would carry your pet on the flight with you. $125, which seems totally reasonable considering I've literally never seen something like this and can't imagine how a lot of these would, have survived. So just how cool is that? So once again, you watch a deep dive or triptych or duo dive on Coca-Cola and you land in a world of all Coca-Cola. So Katie, I've actually had two. We did a deep dive with Vintage Vinny on Coca-Cola trays. You talked about them a lot. And then Katie did kind of a part 2 about specifically telling whether Coca-Cola collectibles are original or reproductions. She covered a lot of these in the triptych. I've come across the Tarzan one a couple of times, and it's one of those I almost have to see like the real one against the fake one next to each other. This one, though, is a pretty clear image, and so I would say this is one of the originals. And based on the quality that I've seen in this mall and the quality and prices that I'm seeing in this case, these are all original. What I found interesting is that there are a couple of designs I've never seen and I haven't heard Katie talk about, so she might know about these. So I'm not sure who that is, so I've never seen that one before. I have seen this one, she's talked about that. I don't think I've ever seen the one with the little sailor girl on the dock, and I have heard her talk about that one. Tarzan one, I'm not sure how the little boy with the dog fits into the pinup world. This one has 2 different sizes, which I'm sure there's some significance to that, but I thought that was kind of cool. You barely see the one in the back in the yellow dress. I think she's talked about that one. My personal favorite is this one. This is the Hamilton King Girl. I just like the stylistic way she's done. So I think she's one of the prettiest trays. So I'm pretty sure she's original. And I've seen the one, that one I've seen, I think, reproduced. But that has the Coca-Cola up in the swoop of the sea. It has all the text down at the bottom that you're supposed to have. So most of these, the prices are flipped around so I can't see what they go for, but there was a tag that fell off that said one of them was $699. So again, they know what they've got and they're priced accordingly. What I thought was fun were some of the other Coca-Cola items, including this aluminum bowl supported by 4 Coca-Cola bottles. And they are calling it the 1935 Pretzel Bowl. How cool is that? That would look awesome in any sort of Coca-Cola collection. I'd never heard of something like that. So Coca-Cola, you know, they want you to eat your salty snacks. So you buy more Coke. So I got back from my trip to Walnut, and as you can see, had a little bit of success. A lot of the stores, because if it was a Sunday, a lot of them were actually closed, and it may have been a combination of being a Sunday as well as being in the winter. One store was only open 1 day a week. I'm not sure if that's always the case. I had the most success at the first place, the Granary Mall. It was probably the largest of the places that were open. And I did pick up both of the tall tins that I'd shown in the video. It turns out that the darker background is the older of the 2. But I picked up both of them because I felt that at the price, it was, one is probably about its money. Maybe I can make a little bit of money on it, but the other one, the older one, I think is worth more. And I did verify with Katie, it is harder to come by. And then I did find 2 tea tins. I don't think I showed those in the videos. Those are for my personal collection, so those won't be for sale. But I like these smaller sized tea tins. We've got the Tetley tea bags, and you know, had to pick it up because it was a trunk down elephant. Now it's trunk down because he's carrying a box of tea, but that's okay. And then this one was a brand I wasn't familiar with, Lewis Sherry's tea. So like that as well. As you can see, I picked up some ephemera. I'm in the preparation of doing a video for a triptych talking about the 12 days of Christmas, so I couldn't pass this up. I don't think this is that old because it's talking about Spam. I think this ended up being from the 60s or 70s based on, there was this on the back, this pet milk. I had to do a little bit of research, and Pet Milk Company changed to Pet Milk Incorporated in 1966. So I think this is before 1966. But I don't know if it's much more than that based on the graphics. But I thought that was kind of cool. This is it's kind of like a cigarette card, kind of like a tea card, but this one's for chewing gum. So this one is, said on the back, this one is one of 192 cards. So this is the mantled, Gurza, no idea, African monkey. So I thought he was kind of fun, picked him up. I thought this was kind of cool. It's I think it's for for a coat check or something like that. you would put this in the brim of your hat. It says right on here, place this card in front under the inner hat band. But you gump, this is not your hat. It belongs to a better man. Okay. These I picked up, just a set of crystal coasters. This had been a request from one of my customers, was looking for a set of these, so I picked those up. And I thought this was kind of fun. It was a scorekeeper, has the Joker on it, but I'd never seen one like this because it's got the scorecard, which is totally fine. But then up here, it actually has the different cards for scoring different games. I think my parents used to play Pinochle. I don't think I ever did. I played canasta before, never played bridge. Not sure what kind of rummy this is. Gin rummy, okay. So I just thought that was kind of a cool set, and I don't know if people would actually use it as a scorecard anymore, but just as a piece of vintage desk, as a topper desk set, you probably can replace this paper just unclamps from here, and you can probably just, if you can find the same size paper, this would just be kind of a cool notepad for the desk. So I couldn't pass that up. So not a huge success. Not sure it was worth the hour-and-a-half drive each way to get there. Maybe if it had been better time of the year, maybe more stores would have been open. I question if it was the antiques capital of anything, maybe of Iowa, maybe. But there were a lot of stores that just, unfortunately, a lot of them were closed. So this is what I picked up, and I'm just going to finish the video here because I think with the video that I captured at the Granary Mall, there's enough for this to go out. So appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you ever make it out to Walnut, Iowa, make sure you told him Trusty sent you. And thanks for watching, and thanks for putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. Talk to you again soon. Bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye, finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my